What SB 1070 does in Arizona and other state laws has been to empower, as a matter of state law, state and local police to run immigration status checks. In fact, it doesn't just empower them, it requires them in these states to check. This is the show me your paper stuff. And the Supreme Court struck down, this is another thing that's happened since I did the talk last year. I mean, in the last week in June last year, last Monday in June, the Supreme Court struck down 3 or 4 central provisions. It did not strike down the show me your papers provision. It let it go into effect, leaving open the possibility that it would be struck down once it was shown to be used in an improper way. But they weren't going to strike it down initially, but they did strike down things like provisions that made it a crime, a state law crime, to be to not have your federal papers. Okay, so that's a lot of what's happened with. So that was just last year. A lot of the circuit court cases following the Supreme Court decision have struck down similar provisions in other states. The Alabama provision actually would not only do what Arizona did, but go further. It would actually restrict, in some practical ways, access to elementary and elementary and secondary schools. And so there's been a wave of circuit court cases to follow the Supreme Court decision that have implemented the parts that have struck down the 3 of the 4 central provisions. But there's, as I said, the show me your papers provision is still there. One interesting thing about this is that you have the federal government stepping in a unique or very unusual way, and it being the party that goes after the Arizona and tries to declare it unconstitutional. There's basically a couple ways you could attack this, or several ways you could attack these statutes. One is based on individual rights, equal protection, Fourth Amendment protections against search and seizures, First Amendment challenges to laws to prevent the solicitation of work, for example, for day labor. But the other way you could attack these provisions is to say it's beyond the competence of the state government and local government. It's federal preemption. The federal government really brings they rely on the federal preemption argument. There's also parallel litigation in the states that rely both on preemption and on individual rights. So that's just something, that's just the way to understand the litigation, is that you have a couple different types of arguments, and the federal government has been focused on preemption because their concern is with states encroaching on this. But as I said, a lot of what Secure Communities does, it's a federal program, is to empower state and local police in some ways that are troublingly similar